Okay, fine. So today the topic of discussion is cloud architecture for IoT. Good morning, participants. And myself, Dr. Rajesh P. Barnwal, as already Professor Sen has introduced me. So let us start with some kind of discussion and interactive session. As because you have already, basically I'm sure that you have basically passed your yesterday with very good speakers on IoT. So let us just understand from your perspective what is IoT. Okay. So this is my interactive session. That's why I would request all the participants to go menti.com, type this code and write your answer there. I'm waiting for 2 minutes till other participant will be joining, and let us have a kind of understanding what is IoT as per your perception. So I'd request whoever is using mobile or laptop or computer, go to menti.com, type this code and write your perception about IoT. What is IoT? In
Actually,
short, two, three. Yeah.
the chat box is visible in chat box is disabled for the
No, it's not a chat box. Basically, there is a menti.com and everybody can see the basically responses of the people.
yeah.
So just so you just start typing and your answer will be visible over here. Go to menti.com. I'm just taking 2 minutes for this, and till the other participant will also join, and I can also understand what's your understanding about IoT. Okay, somebody has given connecting things or interaction of things. That's fine. Yeah, interconnected devices. True. Come on, fast. Making things smart. I could see it is around 60 participants. So I'm guessing at least 50% of the answers from 50% of the participants. So it is evolving. Yeah, please come. Gadgets in a smart way. Okay, network of physical objects. Good. Smart devices. What else? You may repeat the same thing. So I can see even the evolving answer. You can repeat. If you think that your answer has already been given, you can repeat the same thing. Okay, network of physical objects. So that is getting better votes. People may even enter number of times if they want.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, internet. Quite different answer than others. But till now, network of physical objects has got maximum voting. Yeah. Communication with device. So we have not received even 30 answers. Come on, fast. Still, the network of physical object has got maximum voting. So what I told is that basically you may repeat the same sentence if you want, if you think that it is the IoT. Okay, only 20 answers I have received till now out of 60 participants. Human things. Okay, this is quite different. So another answer come with internet, devices with internet. Okay, fine. A things embedded with good. Come up. 25 participants. 25 answer exactly I've got. So anyway, I think now this is the saturation point. I have received 25 answers from 25 participants, maybe, and where the most vote came to network of physical objects, right? However, none of you are wrong, but let us see, let us understand what does it exactly means. People may be sometimes taking it in different way. Internet of Things means whatever is connected, whatever are the devices. If it is smart, it can be classified as IoT. Maybe let us see what is the truth. So thank you for the answers. So let us see now. So I'm not going in the next question answer session. Let us see what is Internet of Things. Whether it is device only, maybe not. May not be only sensors. If we are using sensor, we are using sensors from decade, right? But IoT came up recently. This word actually popped up very recently. There must be something different out of other than this embedded system or kind of sensors or devices. It is also not about actuators that we are also using in the industry and all, right? Communication is was already there, but they were never called as IoT. Then what is all it is all about, right? So if you try to think or see from very close, we'll be finding that Internet of Things are made up of two words. One is internet and another is thing. And even in that, internet is coming in first word, Internet of Things. So why internet? Why it is not network of things? Why it is not NOT rather than IoT? So you need to think of people. What I have seen as a hobby project, people are doing. They're taking some Arduino or kind of some microcontroller boards or microprocessor boards, and what they are doing is that basically connecting it, and they are telling that yes, it is IoT. In my definition or strict definition, it is not IoT. So what is IoT? Devices communicating over internet. So internet is the keyword over here. Unless until you are utilizing internet, and I mean internet over here, not internet means you have to connect it to the outside world, but internet from the computer science point of view, it should actually follow all the protocols of TCP/IP domain, right? So if it is following TCP/IP domain's protocol, then only it is called as Internet of Things. Otherwise, it can be anything but IoT. We may not classify it strictly in IoT category. Maybe it is a connected devices, maybe smart devices, whatever you can call. It cannot be called as a kind of IoT. So having this, let us just go through characteristic of typical IoT. As because this is the precursor of coming to the cloud, and where cloud fits. That's why we are just trying to basically brush up the basics of IoT. So it's a network of things which can be. Now things has a wide definition over here. It may be a kind of physical object or even digital object, right? So things can be anything, even physical or digital, and it may be sensor or mimicking the sensor. Some physical, some program is there which can mimic the sensor output. A kind of nowadays concept come kind of derived sensor or soft sensors. So soft sensor is what? They can take inputs from different number of sensors and can derive some upper abstraction layer of information, and then that is considered as a kind of input. So those are called soft sensors. You may write these words, keywords. I'm just giving the keywords. You may go in Google and search it. So next is actuator. Then comes consumer goods. Any kind of consumer goods you are using, smart TV or any kind of thing, which is utilizing your internet, right? Then comes wearables, whatever we are using, smartwatch or that kind of thing, smart band. Vehicles, now connected vehicles like Vanet. Then field equipments, maybe any industrial machineries or medical devices. Mind it, all are machines. Means earlier what was there in internet, we as a human being was communicating with each other, right? Maybe the means was machine, but communication was made between two human beings normally. But now the paradigm is getting shifted in IoT domain. And here, in place of human being, actually machines are communicating with other machine without any intervention of human being in between. And that is called machine-to-machine communication. Unless until this machine-to-machine communication is there, using these internet protocols, it cannot be classified strictly under IoT. Okay. But what about network? Network must have a unique characteristic. In IoT, what is that? It should be having a kind of public infrastructure, utilizing the public infrastructure, Ethernet-based infrastructure, and which uses TCP/IP protocol. Again, I am telling you, if it is not using TCP/IP protocol, we may not classify that under the strict definition of IoT. So you must be knowing this, that whatever IoT devices you are making or planning to make, try to basically plan its communication using TCP/IP protocol. Then only you can classify it as an IoT, right? So all issues and problems that exist in public network also exist in IoT. So public network, what are the issues we are coming up with? Like in the internet, secure communication protocol means if we are using public infrastructure, security is the utmost thing, and that is also applicable in any kind of IoT. We cannot think of any IoT device which is not secure. Okay. So what I am trying to give, I am thinking that basically these are faculty domain. So what I'll be trying to give you an impression that what are the research area also that can pop up in this particular domain, IoT domain, right? So security communication protocol is one of the domain where people can start researching, or many people have already done number of work. Then latency prone communication, right? As because we are using public network, which is not in our control, right? Like internet. So latency is the inherited basically property of any kind of internet or internet network. So latency, how we can reduce this latency if you are trying to use some kind of things network. Then error prone channels, then geographically distributed machines. Now, I think some audio is on. Can you please mute? Yeah. So geographically distributed machines. So all the machines, whatever we are talking about here, these are all geographically distributed. These are supposed to be geographically distributed. because we are using internet, we are thinking of internet, some TCP/IP. That geographical region may be kind of across the country, across the cities, within the city, across homes or within home. But some kind of distance, spatial distance, or some kind of a spatial difference must be there between two different machines. Then only it has meaning, otherwise it has no meaning, right? Then trust of nodes problem, as because we are dealing with the something which is sitting far or maybe especially at different place than me. So whether I am communicating with the right node or not, or my node is communicating with the right node or not. So trust of node is coming into picture, right? So that can be another area of research where people can work. That if I am communicating with IoT within the IoT devices, whether this trust thing is getting fulfilled or not. Then congestion issues, as because I am telling it is again giving the congestion issue is actually giving this latency problem. Then whether we will be using wireless or wired network. So you need to, whenever you are planning for any kind of IoT, it is not always that it should be wireless. It may be wireless or wired network. Then reliable communication problem is, and many more. I can enlist a number of problems over here, which is applicable equally in IoT domain, right? So if you'll try to see the definition of IoT, IoT refers to connected devices, as all of I think most of you have responded, connected devices and sensor technology enabled by secure network connectivity. So security is the foremost thing over here. If you are connecting two devices, you should be taking care of the security. Otherwise, again, as because you are using the public infrastructure or internet, so it has no meaning. The data which is coming from your device, the other machine, you're not knowing that whether that data is correct or it is being sent by some kind of spoofer, right? Then comes, as because geospatially distributed machines are there, so there must be something common in that, right? And what is that common thing? That is cloud infrastructure, using which they can communicate with each other. And for what? To reliably transform data into useful information. This is the ultimate goal we have to achieve using IoT. Can we use those raw data for taking out some useful information out of it? Okay. So if we try to see the IoT life cycle, though I have taken this image from internet, but this is good image depicting the life cycle of IoT. Okay. So what we do for IoT, basically whenever we are planning for any project in IoT, first we are thinking of business case development. What it would be used for, right? So what is the purpose of implementing that IoT? Then comes, okay, whether we should build or buy directly from the market of the cells. Then what we are doing is that, and it is equally applicable to the all industrial people, as because in industry also this is the kind of IoT life cycle. Like then the third comes proof of concept. Proof of concept, what they are doing is that basically they are making something in local lab level or kind of local industry level and trying to mimic the same full environment, that whether it will work or not at low scale or lab scale. Then initial pilot rollout means maybe say they're taking some kind of case study for a small town or a small city or a small home, and then finally they're deciding about the commercial deployment, how to do it. So for doing all those things, we have to have kind of architecture where all these IoT IoT things can be placed. So at the bottom of the layer, these smart devices are coming. Okay. Now smart devices may have, if we'll try to see over here, smart devices may have the capability of communication directly with the communication network, right? So it may have a kind of communication chip or communication capability, which can directly be plugged into the network by giving an IP over there. So IP is, again, I am telling you, as because we are talking about the TCP/IP protocol, so the device must have some kind of address. Then only it can be classified as IoT, and it can communicate using public network or this TCP/IP network. Those devices are called smart devices, right? The other category of device is simple device, which has microcontroller unit, firmware and hardware, but lacks IP addresses. Okay, like suppose we are trying to communicate with Zigbee or that kind of or Bluetooth, so that lacks a kind of IP addresses. So IP is not there. So what we can do is that we can utilize a kind of gateway that is called edge gateway and connect all such simple devices to that. And this in turn, edge gateway will be having an IP which can directly communicate to the internet or using this TCP/IP protocol for basically communicating with the this next layer, which is called cloud services. Okay, so there are two categories of devices what we are talking about. One is smart devices, another is simple device. Simple device requires kind of is a gateway for communicating or for connecting as an IoT device. This itself cannot be called as IoT device, but you basically in combination of this edge gateway, this can be called as a kind of IoT device, right? So which can communicate using some communication network with the clouds. So cloud services are coming in third layer, above which applications are coming. Okay, and application may be a kind of visualization application or some kind of business. Maybe you are integrating something with the ERP or some kind of resource planning software, and there you can utilize these IoT devices data, right? And above all, in the top layer comes security. So security is required at every layer, means device layer, communication layer, cloud layer, and application layer. Okay. So in a device layer, what kind of security is required? Physical protection is required. Suppose you have placed some of the IoT devices in farms, right? Agricultural farms. So physical protection is required. So that kind of physical security is required at the device level. In communication level, you need to think of some kind of end-to-end encryption of data communication to ensure that whatever data you are getting from the actual intended devices, not some kind of a spoofed or hacked device, right? Then comes cloud. So cloud will be having a kind of privacy, as because cloud, as you all know, that it's a kind of shared devices or shared resources. So maybe multiple tenant will be there on the cloud. So basically data should be having some kind of privacy from one tenant to other tenant, right? So that kind of privacy management and data secrecy has to be there on the cloud platform. And then application, whoever is the user of application, they must be proving their identity and some kind of access management for basically getting those applications, right? So if I try to just simplify this diagram, you will see that first hardware kind of thing will be there or devices, then device software, that is called firmware in right sense, which has to be written on these devices, which can gather data and communicate with the cloud platform using some communication medium, right? And this communication medium must follow, again and again, I am repeating, TCP/IP. Okay. And then cloud will be having its cloud application, right? So there are 4 layers. One is device and thing. Here, the sensors and hardware firmware is coming. In the second layer, It is coming device and device gateway and device management. Means whatever device you are utilizing, how we can identify those devices. Is there any identification mechanism in that or not? Unless until we can identify, we cannot identify its geographical coordinate. We cannot identify that which data is coming from which place, right? And then comes data processing and basically visualization platform or such kind of thing. And this is where this cloud is taking place, right? So what cloud is doing, what kind of services cloud is giving in the IoT? Data management, intelligence, and some kind of API, okay? And then complete platform, which can be interfaced as a kind of website where the people can utilize it, or if it is a kind of API, other kind of software which can interact with this platform for getting the data or getting the information out of this particular stack, right? It may be a kind of mobile apps or website. So if we'll try to see the technology stack, in technology stack means till now we were there in the kind of conceptualization thing. Now, if we'll try to see the basically off the shelf what is available, so we have to build and buy, right? Build or buy. So in during build or buy, basically we have to think of what are the technology available for IoT. How we'll be going for that. So if we are trying to just think of some kind of board, microcontroller board or chip, so there basically these companies are great player like ARM, AVR, Microchip, Intel, Texas Instrument, Nordic Semiconductor, Raspberry, NVIDIA, and many more kind of Node MCU is also there, Arduino is also there. So this is coming at the layer of device, first layer. Okay. First layer. The second layer is the how local communication can be made. Local means up to the gateway or directly to the cloud. Am I audible to all? Process in?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You are audible. No problem.
Okay, fine. So next decision we have to make is that what kind of communication infrastructure we should be utilizing, right? So there are a number of options in even in the communication stack, and that is called maybe we will be utilizing 4G, NB-IoT, means narrowband IoT, LoRaWAN, Wi-Fi, low-pan, Zigbee. There are a number of options are NFC, near-field communication, Bluetooth, and what else? Maybe many things. Even we can utilize our LAN or internet also directly to communicate those kind of devices. If we can place or we can put some kind of IP over the devices. If we are not able to put, suppose we have made some kind of device where we cannot put some IP over there. What is the way out? We have to have one gateway which can utilize this communication protocol and convert it into the IP communication protocol, and then this particular gateway or this device can directly be connected to the IoT network, right? Then in the third layer, it is coming, and we have to decide about the protocols. What kind of protocol, TCP/IP protocol or IoT specifically? IoT protocol is nothing different than TCP/IP protocol. Only difference is that number of lightweight protocols came into picture. Okay, during last few years, people have researched it or industry have researched it, and they came up with some kind of lightweight protocol under this TCP/IP stack. Okay, which is actually communicating with the communication layer. Okay, that can be HTTP, as we all know. MQTT. MQTT is very lightweight protocol that is based on PubSub kind of thing, where actually devices are publishing some data, and so the thing which is utilizing that data, which can subscribe those data, and then again it is using the cloud over here. Then CoAP, Constant Application Protocol. Then AMQP is there, Advanced Message Queuing Protocol. WebSocket is there, CAN is there, Hard Communication Protocol is there, MBUS is there. So, apart from this, there are many protocols which you can utilize in the IoT domain for communicating with the cloud. Then comes the actual topic of discussion today, that is cloud. So in cloud stack also, basically we are having a number of options. We have to decide which option we are going to use, right? Maybe the company, the large giant like Cisco, Google, or kind of Amazon, IBM, all are having their own cloud, and or Microsoft Azure, which can be utilized for IoT purpose. You can directly go and buy those services and utilize for your own purpose, right? So this is a bigger picture of IoT, apart from the what college students are that basically in the labs what we are doing, right? Then comes how those data analytics can be done over the cloud. Suppose we have hired the cloud services. What kind of application we can develop for that particular IoT thing, right? So we need to have some kind of data analytics, and where this thing will be helping, like OpenCV, TensorFlow, Keras, R language, scikit-learn, and many more, Apache, right? So this kind of thing, as because again I'm telling you, this is a kind of IoT devices are supposed to work 24/7, right? And that's why they are supposed to generate huge amount of data, and those huge amount of data is nowadays being called big data. Okay, so if we are dealing with the big data, our software should be capable of handling those big data. Maybe Hive like database we should be having, right? Or people may be talking about some kind of NoSQL database. I don't know how many of you have basically heard about this particular NoSQL database, but this is now a reality and best suited for this IoT domain, right? And then comes in application layer, which can be utilized for interaction with the outside world. Outside world means maybe that a kind of human being or some kind of other software which can utilize the IoT services. There, this Android, iOS, or kind of Microsoft or some kind of Python program can play, basically come into picture, right? So prototyping hardware, if you are trying to see, the few hardware are very cheap and can be utilized at the lab level, like Arduino, ESP, Particle. These are very cheap hardware and can be directly utilized, or for proof of concept, we can utilize it, right? But these are not commercial hardware. These are not industry grade hardware. So we cannot directly utilize these hardwares in some kind of industrial environment. Okay. Then comes a bit middle layer where SparkFun, Adafruit, and Raspberry Pi are coming. It is more expensive than this, but this has capability to sustain some kind of harsh environment up to certain limit. And the industrial domain, if you are trying to think of, it is TI, Texas Instruments devices, or Intel's devices, or MediaTek. Okay, so whatever in lab we are doing for the proof of concept, Arduino, ESP, and these kind of chips are okay. But if we are going to deploy any solution directly into the industry, we have to have that category of hardware for deploying our solution, right? So we cannot deploy our Arduino or ESP8266 directly to the industrial environment. It will go basically damaged within maybe a few days or few hours. Okay, so next, we just had a talk with for this kind of hardware stack. Now we will be thinking of software stack. What kind of software stack we will be having in IoT, right? So there will be again three kind of category over here. One is constrained devices, the devices which you are making, which is gathering data and communicating to the cloud in IoT domain, right? So these are called constrained devices. Why constrained devices? Because it is having constraint in terms of processing power, in terms of power, electrical power, in terms of maybe memory, right? So that's why we have to think of some kind of lightweight operating system for them, lightweight field protocols for them, lightweight IoT protocols for that. And as because this has to be deployed remotely, right? So some kind of remote management protocol must be there. Otherwise, suppose you think of, suppose you are deploying a particular IoT device at Delhi in some of the city, and you need to have those data into some kind of lab, in environmental lab, right? So if something is going wrong, what you have to do is that you have to go physically over there and correct it. So or suppose some firmware you need to change, you have to go to individual device and you have to change the firmware there. But it is not possible always, right? So some kind of remote management protocol or remote management interface must be there over there, right? Then only we can use in minimal cost, as because industry will always be going for minimizing the cost. They will never go for the solution which is not cost effective. So they can never see the actual kind of scenario if your solution is not cost effective. Then comes gateways and smart devices. It is nothing, it is equally good as constant devices, except it has connectivity with IP, right? So it is also having a kind of data management and messaging protocol, where also kind of remote management will be required. Then third category, which is coming as a IoT cloud platform. And in IoT cloud platform, actually this connectivity is always required to connect with this gateway and smart devices. Then how to route those messages to the actual applications? This is another concern, because in cloud platform, IoT cloud platform, we may think of that at a time, maybe thousands or lakhs of devices are communicating directly to the cloud, right? Directly with the cloud application, right? And that when lakhs of devices are communicating 24/7, so messages are coming. So this communication is not a kind of in the data communication kind of thing, the way we are doing in internet, but it's a kind of message communication. So all the protocol like MQTT and all those are talking about the messages rather than the data. So all the communication protocols, lightweight protocols, are talking about messages. Why, we will be understanding later on. So whether cloud layer is necessary always, the question comes when we are talking about this IoT cloud platform, whether it is always required. So if we'll try to see the category of this IoT, we may be finding that there are two different categories of IoT. That is, one is geographically localized, another is geographically distributed. In geographically localized, we can call this smart home, okay, smart wearables, medical wearables, and such kind of thing, right? And in geographically distributed, connected factories or Industry 4.0, what we are talking about, those can be the one example. A smart grid, maybe it's a grid within the city or across the city. This is electrical grid, and that can be categorized in geographically distributed category. Smart agriculture, right? Maybe that is also can be categorized under this geographically distributed category, and kind of vehicular network, right? So in the first category, cloud is not mandatory, because if you are communicating, suppose you have a Wi-Fi router and your all the devices, your smart home devices are getting connected with Wi-Fi router and talking with each other, or maybe you are operating your using your mobile or some kind of Siri or some kind of Amazon Alexa, that okay, to operate your fan or lights or kind of television, so that you can their cloud is not mandatory, as because you need a router kind of thing where all the devices can be connected. Again, this doesn't mean that they need not to have a IP. IP has to be there. Some kind of addressing has to be there for each and every device. Okay, so you need not to always connect it with the internet or some kind of cloud. However, in geographically distributed setup, you need to have kind of cloud where your either gateway or some kind of devices can be connected. Okay, maybe using the public network. So here cloud is mandatory. Fine. So again, I don't know how many of you are knowing cloud computing. I may be trying to get an answer. If you are not feeling bored, can I know whether I can get the answer for this cloud computing? If you are interested, otherwise I'll be just moving on. Anyone? Anyway, so let us go to evaluation of cloud. So maybe I am thinking that you might be knowing about this cloud up to a certain limit. Yeah.
Dr. Bala, cloud computing not to discuss so much. So you can do.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not basically going with that particular answer session. So what I am doing is that evolution of cloud we are talking about. So how cloud evolved? Basically, in the first phase, in the old age era, what we were using is that all the application and data used to be there on a single computer, right? And that is called a standalone computer. But slowly, we thought of networking with the DARPANET, and we thought of kind of web where the application and data may be residing at some kind of server kind of thing, which is capable of utilizing this TCP/IP protocol, maybe HTTPA or HTTPS or the some kind of internet protocol, to deliver that kind of data to different people, right, or different systems. That is the age of the web, or web age we can call, or WWW age. Then comes cloud. What was the problem over here on server-based system? If it is getting down, okay, whole thing were getting disturbed. Number one. Number two is that setting up the own infrastructure is sometimes a costly affair. You have to have capex model in mind. Okay, so you have to buy all the bandwidth or kind of your own IP, and then you need to have a server, and then finally you have to connect everything there. All the application you have to develop and put your data over there, and then only you can serve the people, right, or serve the clients. However, in the third phase, basically this thing, the need of this thing has been eliminated. What happened? There are a number of cloud servers or cloud providers came into picture, right? And what cloud providers were doing is that what they were doing is that they were creating the infrastructure for you, and you need not to pay for infrastructure creation. Just you need to pay how much resources you want from them, maybe how much computer processor you want from them, how much memory you want from them, or how much bandwidth you want from them, and you need to pay only for that. Okay, so they are on behalf of client, they are the service provider, and they are creating the infrastructure, and that infrastructure may be kind of geographically distributed infrastructure. Why? To serve the client better and the shortest possible, and to minimize the latency, and in the within the shortest possible time frame they can serve the kind of client, and these are called kind of cloud, right? And this cloud, maybe Gmail is a live example of this cloud, kind of where suppose if you are trying to browse your Gmail from India, you may be served with some other server, and if you are going to US and you are trying to browse the same email from there, you may be served from another server. So you don't know from where you are getting served, right? And there is a behind the scene, there is a network of servers which is based on their actually load or based on their geographical location, they are trying to serve you. And that's why this is called cloud. As because cloud, why? Because it is opaque to the service taker, right? So you are not knowing where your server resides, and but you are taking the service seamlessly wherever you are going. Then in the fourth phase, it came cloud and IoT. Okay, in cloud and IoT, what happens? Earlier in cloud, people were thinking of only communicating some kind of human being is there which can communicate with the device, these clouds. But nowadays, in IoT era, actually the things are also trying to started communicating with these clouds. Okay, so these kind of protocols has to be implemented in these clouds. Then only devices can communicate. Otherwise, only human can communicate on that. And this is the era of cloud plus IoT. So this is the fourth phase what we are going through now. So classical definition of cloud, if you are trying to see, cloud is nothing but a kind of sharing computing resources. This is the simplest definition, rather than having local servers or personal devices to handle application. So if you are working with some kind of application, so you need to host it somewhere, and there basically you need not to have your own infrastructure. You have to share all those devices under some kind of shared resources, right? Some kind of noise is coming. If somebody is there, I think it should be muted. Anyway, the phrase cloud computing means a type of internet. Again, this word internet came, internet-based computing. So unless until there is a kind of internet-based computing, again, this cannot be directly come under the strict definition of cloud computing. Okay. So here, what different kind of services we can give, like servers. Server means some kind of serving applications should be there installed on that. Storage, some kind of memory should also be there. Storage data storage should also be there, some physical storage, and some kind of application. Okay, and which is intended to deliver to some kind of organization which is subscribing those services over the internet. Like we are using this MS Team, right? MS Team is also a kind of a cloud service. We are utilizing it for kind of video conferencing. So we are not basically the subscriber, like we or NIT Durgapur need not to host some kind of infrastructure for this kind of video conferencing system. What they need to do is that just they have to pay to Microsoft, and Microsoft will be giving a kind of authentication thing, and which they can utilize and create their video conference instances over there. So this was the classical model of this cloud computing, where people were talking about the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure means we can hire storage, compute, or network bandwidth. Okay. So what we were doing under this category is that we were hiring just infrastructure. We are not asking to the cloud provider that you just give me any kind of software like MS Team or Gmail. You just basically we were expecting only that they should be giving us some kind of infrastructure, maybe some kind of processing resources or memory or some kind of network bandwidth, which we will be utilizing for hosting our services or softwares. Okay. Then came next era, that is platform as a service. Now, platform as a service, what it was giving is that including this infrastructure, they were also providing some kind of operating system, some kind of authentication mechanism, some kind of databases like Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server, whatever it is. Okay. So this was actually having infrastructure as well as some basic software, utilizing which we can develop our application and we can host our application over there. Then came software as a service or application as a service, where like this Gmail. Gmail is a kind of application as a service or software as a service. We need not to host anything. Just if we need a kind of mail server, okay, we are going to Google, we are paying them, and we can have their services, cloud services as a software as a service, complete Gmail or MS Team kind of services, and we can utilize it. Okay. Here it is a kind of complete instance. And again, how we will be utilizing these services? These services will be utilizing using internet. Okay. So as because this is utilizing internet, again, this is good for utilization in IoT domain. Okay. Now, so cloud computing model, if you try to see, earlier it was talking about traditional on-premise cloud, where everything was on-premise: network, storage, server, virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data and application, everything used to be there inside the campus. But the next era, it came that, okay, we are having this thing. Can we hire the basic hardware like server, storage, networking? Okay, or some kind of virtualization platform. Virtualization platform is required because I told you the cloud is kind of shared resources. Now, because this is shared resources, you need to have, suppose there is a server, you need to partition that server into multiple instances of resources, and each resources can be allocated to different tenants. Okay, so these different tenant can utilize their resources. However, they are not supposed to access the others area due to privacy reason or due to some kind of security reason. And there where this virtualization needs to be done. If we are doing virtualization, so this is called a VM, kind of virtual machine. Means it is equivalent to a machine. I, as a service taker, I may not be able to see whether this is a complete machine or this is a part of that particular infrastructure, right? So this is called as a virtual machine. For me, it's a machine, but for service provider, it's a virtual machine. Then comes platform as a service. Means service provider is providing us everything, including operating system, middleware, and runtime environment. Okay, so this is a platform as a service. Only we need to think of what kind of application we can host over there and what kind of data we have to store over there. Then came software as a service. Okay, so in software as a service, everything used to be given by the service provider, this cloud service provider like MS Team or like your Gmail or some kind of OneDrive, Google Drive. That kind of thing is actually software as a service. We need not to think of anything, even in the application. We will be utilizing those services for storing our requirement or data or whatever it is, or some kind of communication need. Maybe in IoT, suppose we are taking the software as a service, so we need not to think about kind of developing our own application. What we can do is that we can just utilize that software and create our instances, and we can get it done, right? But these were our kind of classical model, conceptual model, of which is like this: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? So where this virtualization has to take place, where this human can also get attached or object can also get attached. And this environment where human and object can communicate with some kind of intelligence or some kind of some kind of consciousness. Maybe that object can have a kind of cognitive capability, intelligence within that. So these are called smart environment. And how it will be connected with this? It is cloud-based service of thing. And these clouds are coming in the middle thing between these two. Means there are object or human which is communicating with this cloud for getting the services of cloud-based service of things. Okay. Now, if I try to see what's the role of IoT cloud. Okay. So IoT cloud actually plays multiple roles over here. Like suppose you are having devices, maybe thousands of devices you have deployed in your farms or in your agriculture or your maybe in some smart cities. Maybe there's some light sensor you have deployed in your city, right? A number of light sensors you have deployed, and that has to be communicating. That should be communicating with your cloud for giving you data from across the city. Okay. So which device is placed at which place? What's the coordinate of that, physical coordinate of that? and what's the identity of that, everything has to be managed using some kind of system, and that is called device management system. So if you are talking about this IoT cloud, they must be having this particular role. So there must be some kind of facility over there using which we can manage multiple devices. Okay. Then comes streaming. What kind of means the data, as because you are connecting the device for what? To gathering data, and those data should be collected somewhere, and you need to analyze those data for doing some kind of action, right? So streaming of those data are coming, and your IoT cloud should be having that infrastructure or that kind of facility which can handle this streaming of the data. Not only that,
Hello.
and because hello.
गुड मॉर्निंग. अच्छा, बोलिए.
Can you mute the participant, please?
तो फिर अभी इतने सारे लोग होंगे तो कैसे मीटिंग में आ सकेंगे ना?
Sir, you unmute yourself also, because I have mute all that time. You also muted, so unmute you and start. You just unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself, nothing else.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible.
Okay, fine. So next thing is that streaming of data. So the basically our IoT cloud should be able to handle this streaming of data as well. Okay. So as because in real time we may be having a huge data, and 24/7 we are getting those data. So this cloud, IoT cloud, whatever we are selecting, this should be handling this kind of streaming of data. Next is that over the air updates, that is called OTA. We are getting also in our mobile in between this kind of periodic updates from the Android or basically manufacturer of the mobile, right? So as because now suppose you have to go to service center just to get that update, you might not be going there. But this, due to this facility over the air update, what you are doing is that you are getting an alert that there is an update available. Do you want to apply it? Okay. So according in the same manner, IoT devices are also during the time they need to be updated to bring some kind of extra features or extra security layers. So that kind of facility is there with that particular IoT cloud or not, using which we can update our IoT devices over there. Okay, we need not to go to physically to each device and upload our firmware or replace our firmware. Can we do that remotely using remote management system or not? Then comes whatever data is going there in IoT cloud, can it be handled and stored, and what kind of facility that particular IoT cloud can give? Maybe in the backend they are running with Oracle, MySQL, or maybe something NoSQL database like SimpleDB, MongoDB, CouchDB, or that kind of thing. But they need to have some kind of data storage facility. Then only we can utilize that for the IoT cloud, right? As because in MS Team, we are not having any kind of, we need not to have any kind of data storage facility, right? Though it is a software as a service, but I am least bothering whether they are giving us the data storage capacity or capability or not. But in IoT, if we are utilizing some kind of IoT cloud, we must be seeing whether they are giving data storage capability or not, right? So, and then some kind of rules processing. Suppose I am gathering data, okay? Maybe temperature data or light sensor data, okay? And if suppose temperature is going, suppose I am taking an example of home, smart home, and there is an air conditioner which is monitoring my temperature, room temperature. And I have to have a kind of rule, if temperature is more than 25 degree, put on the AC. Okay. So you put on the AC. So if this kind of rule we have to make, whether that particular IoT cloud is giving that particular facility or not, rule processing and notification. Now, sometimes we also need a kind of, suppose you have a kind of a smart lock in your home, okay? And in a smart lock, you want that in absence of you, suppose you are in the office or you have gone out of station, and in absence of you, somebody is trying to open that particular door. You should be getting a notification over Twitter or as an SMS or over WhatsApp, whether that is capable of doing that or not. So whenever you are selecting IoT cloud, okay, you must be seeing that these particular rules processing or notification facilities are there or not. Otherwise, IoT has no meaning. IoT, the full capability of IoT we can reap only when we can utilize these kind of features. This is the final goal, or what you can say, the motivation behind the implementation of the IoT, right? Then some kind of analytics, whatever data we are gathering, it's not possible for human being to just go through each and every data every time and then only take some action. As because here machine to machine communication is basically expected. So some kind of analytics and then reporting engines must be there, utilizing which other machine can take some kind of decision. Okay, what to do next? If temperature is going above for 25 degrees centigrade, we have to put on the AC. If it is time is 6 o'clock in the evening, put on your television. Okay. If light intensity is going less than this this lux or this much value, you just put on all the street lights. Right? So that kind of reporting and notification or some kind of analytics must be there, which can utilize your IoT data. So I'm not going through this. Also, these are various protocol which you can utilize for communication between the cloud and your smart devices. And the notification can be in the form of SMS, in the form of Twitter post, or in the form of WhatsApp, or in the form of even call. Means maybe IoT, this your application itself making you a call. Okay, there is someone trying to break your door. Okay, in your absence, please rush to your home. This kind of call may be automated directly from the IoT device. Okay, and these are the motivations why we are doing, or maybe a kind of automated email may be suited. If something is going wrong, or if something is actually satisfying these rules, whatever rules I have made. So this kind of email can be suited directly from the cloud itself. Okay, so or cloud may be giving you an interface, that is API interface, which can feed other software. Okay, after doing all kind of analytics, all kind of processing of rules, they can feed data to the other software periodically. Okay, so periodically it's not means always they will be putting. If that rule is getting satisfied, they will be pushing those data, and based on that, this software can take some kind of call. Okay, so evolution of cloud model, if you will try to see again. So earlier, what was there? Earlier in the cloud, we were thinking of having only bare metal. Bare metal means we were having only hardware. We were not thinking of taking any other services other than the hardware from this service provider, cloud service provider. Slowly, means like data center, you might have heard about this data center. Data center were not doing anything. Only they were doing that, they were procuring some kind of servers, putting the air conditioner and some kind of bandwidth they were putting. And suppose you need 5 servers. So what they will be doing, they will be allocating 5 servers to you, and whatever you want, you can do over there. Okay, so those kind of bare metal model was there. Then came virtual machine. Means I need not to have all the complete machine for myself. Maybe that's a high-end machine. I need a small virtual machine out of that for utilization of our own application, right? So that we can do. Then came container model. Container model means basically we will be utilizing a kind of packages, software packages under my own VM, which will be provided by that. And the last and newest one is function. So this is called function as a service. Okay, so this was the earlier model, but now the latest in the series is serverless model. So serverless computing is the latest addition in the cloud platform, cloud domain, and this is called sometimes as a function as a service. And this is what I think, this is my personal opinion, that it would be the serverless computing would be the future of IoT cloud. Okay, so as because now 15 minutes less, I think, yeah. So serverless computing is what? It is a method of providing backend services on as used basis. Earlier, what we need to pay is that whatever VM we are taking and whatever we need to provide them details that how much processor we need, how much memory we need, how much bandwidth we need. Okay, and initially when we are basically defining this, we need to pay for that. Okay, so even if we are not using, we need to pay for that as because we have reserved this many resources. But now in serverless computing, we need not to reserve any kind of resources. Whenever and whatever we will be utilizing, only that much we need to pay to the service provider. And that is the future of IoT cloud. As because in IoT cloud, we need not to connect our devices all the time, right? Sometimes we may have a kind of decision, local decision, that if temperature is not getting changed, we need not to communicate to the cloud, and cloud will understand that, okay, temperature has not been changed. That's why it has not been communicated to me. Okay, so you need not to use the bandwidth. You need not to use the data storage for that time. You need not to use even processing power. So during that, you can save your money, and you just use a function as a service. Whenever you're utilizing the particular function, you can you need to pay for that, right? So serverless provider allows users to write and deploy code without the hassle of worrying about the underlying infrastructure. You need not to think about what processor will be required, how much processor will be required, how much memory will be required, how much bandwidth will be required. Just you think of the application as an from engineer's point of view and write over there and forget. So whatever will be utilized, only that much will be billed to you. Okay. So I'm just going a bit fast. So serverless computing is a what? Cloud native platform for short running. Short running means like a event based running. If I have received some data, I would be communicating to the cloud. Otherwise, I need not to get connected with the cloud even. So it's a event based connection. And sometimes it is also called stateless computation, right? So you need not to maintain some kind of state or some kind of connectivity between the cloud and your device. Whenever you need, you just start making the connectivity with your cloud, push your data, get disconnected. There are a number of advantages out of it. One is that you are not communicating, basically consuming too much bandwidth. Another is that you also are saving power or energy at the level of your devices, as because whenever you are connecting that or getting connected for the 24/7, what you are doing is that you are utilizing your energy, which is constant on those devices. So there is a strategy that you should be putting it in the sleep mode or off mode. Then event-driven application, which scales up and down instantly. Okay, so this serverless computing allows us to scale up or immediately scale down if it is not required. So we need to pay only for the instance when we are scaling up. Otherwise, we have to pay at the rate of scale down condition. Okay, so the motivation behind this serverless computing is that we need to have kind of cost-effective model. So earlier there was a kind of monolithic kind of application where everything was there inside one application. And what was the difficulty? We cannot scale it up. We need to have some kind of higher expenditure to store it in some kind of cloud, right? So then came service-oriented architecture where different services, small services we have made and we hosted on the cloud, right? Then this serverless, when this serverless paradigm came, so what we did is that we broke our particular application in different small microservices. Okay, and suppose get data is one microservice, store data another microservice. So whenever get data I am utilizing, and whatever this microservice is utilizing whatever resources, only we need to pay for that, right? We need not to pay for whole application, running a whole application. So this whole application was now basically broke into kind of different microservices, and there where serverless oriented architecture plays role, right? So this is the monolithic application. Now we will be trying to, what is the advantage of serverless architecture? It transforms capital expenditure into operating expenditure. Means we need not to invest on capital too much. Only operation, for the operation we need to pay, okay, and which reduces our operational cost as well. Then administration process of the process, we need not to think about that, as because that is the internal matter of this serviceless architecture. It reduces the development and deployment cost as well, and also time frame, as because we are utilizing the microservices. So we may hire those microservices directly from the service provider and utilize that, right? And it's scalable and fault tolerant by design. So whether serverless is always good, the question comes, if it is a new paradigm, whether it is always good. So if you try to see, serverless is good only for where we required sort running, like in IoT, stateless kind of running, again in IoT, and event driven running or application, again in IoT. So all three things or the three properties are there in IoT, there where we can utilize microservices or IoT application we can host. Serverless is not good where you need to have a kind of heavy duty stream or some kind of deep learning training you have to do. So deep learning training, what happens? A lot of data you have to feed, and you have to get the feedback, and again you have to send more data. So some kind of persistent connectivity you need, long running connectivity you need, or stateful connectivity you need, or in numerical simulation or video streaming. Suppose you have connected some kind of CCTV over there, and continuous feed is coming from there. So for that, serverless may not be good idea, but the kind of devices, temperature device or some kind of IoT, any kind of IoT device you can think of, even health band or some kind of thing. So they are not sending continuous data to the cloud. They are sending data in a while, right? Or basically often sometimes maybe 5 times or 2 times or 10 times in a day, right? So that kind of thing, for implementing that kind of thing, serverless computing is better idea. So this model of cloud is better idea. So popular, if I try to see the popular IoT cloud platform, it is number of basically IoT cloud platform is popping up, and means other than these giant companies, there are number of small companies are also came into picture, like IBM Watson, Cloud MQTT, Microsoft Azure IoT, Hive MQ IoT, Ka IoT, Tuya, ThingsWorks, AWS, Cisco IoT, Salesforce IoT, Oracle IoT, ThingsBoard, and whatnot. Number of things are there. So in the same area, CMRA has a unique experience in that. We have made our own serverless cloud model, and we utilize, basically we are having a kind of center of excellence in farm machinery at Ludhiana. Okay. So though we are basically, our headquarters is at here, Durgapur, but our center is at Ludhiana also, and this is the photograph of Ludhiana, where we need to have a kind of smart agriculture or kind of precision agriculture requirement. Okay, so what we did is that under this project, that project was called Sagita and was funded from the CSIR. So what happened under this project, we need to develop our own IoT cloud, as because these clouds, whatever commercial clouds were available, it was too costly. Means you need to pay even if you are not utilizing it, right? So you have, but here as because we have to do some kind of experiments, or we are thinking of Indian farmers, so we need to have a kind of Indian-based, fully India-based IoT cloud, which can be utilized for this smart farming. Okay, so what we did is that we spent our complete cloud setup and IoT setup throughout the country, and we selected 4 different areas, and all those 4 areas were CSIR's lab. So one at CMRI Durgapur, another was at CMRI Ludhiana, third was at CSIO Chandigarh, and 4th site was NCL Pune, CSIR NCL Pune. So all those 4 become a kind of IoT enabled site, where those IoT sensors, and again I am telling you that those IoT sensor we have developed of our own for this, that is a kind of multi-parameter sensor, and we utilize those IoT sensor for communicating with our cloud for a kind of proof of concept basis. So what we did is that at Ludhiana, basically we deployed this sensor. This IoT sensor had been developed by our own lab, and in NCL Pune we have also deployed some of the sensors, and in Durgapur also we have deployed at the, some sensor, and kind of Chandigarh also we deployed some IoT sensors. And those IoT sensors were communicating with our serverless cloud platform, which were spanned kind of at NCL Pune and CMRI Durgapur. And CMRI Durgapur was the main site, and this is a kind of regional site. Okay, so if anything is going wrong at one site, another site cloud will be taking care of that. So what this is the architecture what we utilize for this our particular cloud development of IoT cloud, like Durgapur, Pune, Chandigarh, and Ludhiana, where all those sensors were connected with the LoRa. LoRa is a long-range communication protocol, and that were connected. Some of the devices are directly connected with the kind of cloud, our Sagita cloud, and some of the devices were connected with the gateway. Just to prove all the kind of scenario, what we did is that we developed our gateway, and we connected this IoT devices with those gateway, and those gateway again uses that particular MQTT lightweight protocol, that is TCP/IP protocol, and this is MQTT is transport layer protocol. So this particular protocol basically being utilized over there for communicating with our cloud, this Sagita cloud. Okay, and this Sagita cloud was geographically distributed again at 2 places, that is at Pune and Durgapur. Okay, and some of the tenants we have created from different labs. So basically there are 4 labs we have utilized those people from those 4 labs, and they acted as a kind of tenants, and Sagita admin was there at the same area Durgapur, and then those tenants had made their own account and actually registered their own devices and sensors, and took the help of this particular cloud for data analytics, visualization of the data and all. So this was the actual big view of this particular cloud architecture, where these nodes were communicating with the data acquisition engine of cloud, and then data bucket was there, which actually getting utilized by this data acquisition engine to store the data whatever was being received by the nodes. And there was a multi-user and multi-device management system was there on site the cloud. We have developed that, and there was a kind of microservices different, and these all are were utilized basically realized using this microservices concept, right? Then Sagita API engine was there. Sorry. So those API engine can be interfaced with some third-party software, which can utilize those data and do some kind of rule-based analysis or basically decision making, right? So analytical engine and visualization engine was there, and this was the communication protocol. So as because we have reached to the 11:30, we'll be just stopping it. If you are interested, we may take it for 5 or 10 minutes in the next session. Otherwise, then this is the otherwise we will be ending over here. So this particular IoT nodes utilize this MQTT protocol over here, which was based on PubSub model, and using this virtual channel and physical channel, using this LoRa and IP network, it got connected with the Sagitta cloud. Maybe here as a general term, we are talking it as a server, but it's a this serverless kind of architecture, where it was analytics or visualization engine was there. And MongoDB we have utilized here as a database, which is a NoSQL database, right? And it is good for data or big data kind of scenario. Okay, so this was data acquisition module, and these are the physical cloud architecture which we utilized for this making this Sagitta data bucket, where it was comprising of 3 physical nodes having primary and secondary nodes. Okay, and Mongoose we have used as a kind of object data modeler, where this data, the data request and data response was getting communicated with the devices using this Mongoose module. And these are the simple diagram for this particular device. And this is the interface of Sagitta cloud, what we have designed. And this has been tested with, I'm telling you, you will be happy to know that we have tested this cloud with 10,000 devices. We simulated 10,000 devices, and we simulated every device should be sending one message every 5 seconds. And we tried this particular cloud software with this simulated environment, and we saw that it is working very fine without any latency and without any delay. And we utilize this public network only, that is internet. Okay, so tenant can add their form over here. They can register devices over there. And kind of device data they can gather in the JSON format, and they can visualize their data. So I had some kind of intention of basically teaching you some kind of tutorial on this IBM Watson as a case study, as because this Sagitta may not be available to all of you, but IBM Watson you can utilize for your practice thing, right? So tutorial I wanted to give, but now time doesn't permit. So what I would be suggesting is that if you have any question till now, you can ask the question. Otherwise, if you want IBM Watson to get to show you, so I may take as because next session is mine, so I may take 5 to 10 minutes to show you this IBM Watson thing, and then we will be switching to the our next topic, right? So next topic is IoT for smart cities.